What's up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with the legend himself, former UFC light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, current Hall of Famer, and of course, analyst at PFL. PFL takes place tomorrow night, folks, Wednesday, October 27th on ESPN Plus and ESPN2. The action commences at 4:30 p.m. Eastern start time. 10 fights headed your way, 6 title fights, the return of Clarissa Shields. Randy, this card's got it all.
Yeah, it's a packed card, a lot of great fights, great matchups, and we're very excited about everything going on in the PFL final coming up tomorrow.
You just told us all the hay's in the barn, obviously. In fact, the fighters have already made weight, including one Ray Couture that had to take it all the way to the end.
Yeah, Ray definitely sounds like cut it right to the wire, ended up having to shave his head. Which I've seen people do before. I mean, you do what you got to do sometimes to get it done. And this is a big fight for him, and one he's wanted for a couple of years now since losing into the finals in our very first season. So he's wanted this rematch more than just about anything. So he's getting his wish.
Yeah, both him and Magomed Karamov, his opponent, have not only have they met up before, but they also hold one title each. So they're both going for their second title. This is going to be tremendous in terms of the history that PFL is slowly building.
Absolutely. I think that's, you could make an argument that the winner of this fight is arguably, one of the top fighters in any promotion across the board. These guys are both very technical, great fighters. They bring a lot to the game. It's going to be really interesting to see who has their way tomorrow night.
Now, I know every individual is different, but after you had your fighter meetings with all of the fighters, was there anyone that impressed you the most or anyone that reminded you of you in terms of your mindset going into a title fight?
I think if I was impressed with anybody, and obviously I've gotten to know through the course of this season and previous seasons with some of these fighters, gotten to know a lot of these guys pretty well. And gals. We've done a lot of interviews over the course of the 3 seasons that we've done. I think Bruno Capoloza is a pretty interesting guy, and his tactics and technique remind me a lot of a young Vitor Belfort. How explosive he is, the way he comes out. If you stand around in front of him, he is going to blast through you. Obviously, it's a rematch with him and D'Elia. Be interesting because I think the onus is on the guy that won the first fight a lot of times. D'Elia is going to do something different. He wants a different outcome. And Bruno's got to kind of make a wild-ass guess as to what those changes are going to be. I think that puts the pressure on the guy that won the first fight going into the rematch. Now, I don't know if that's the same with Ray Couture and Magomed because it's been 3 years since they fought. They both progressed. I think this is a much better Ray Couture than Magomed faced in season 1. He's a lot more refined. He's not as reckless. He takes care of his energy, which I felt like in the early days he was much more frivolous with his energy, and ultimately I think that cost him in that title fight against Magomed. He got a little tired as the fight went on. And we've not seen that from him. He's made the adjustments, dialed it back, turns it on when he needs to, still has that ridiculous power. Interesting to see how they compete. The person that impressed me the most was Clarissa Shields. Here's a gal that obviously is very highly touted in the boxing world. 2-time gold medalist in Olympic boxing, plus a multi-time world champion in professional boxing. And man, she just checks her ego. She knows how much she has to learn. She's willing to put herself out there. She's doing a great job in Albuquerque with Winklejohn and the guys and the training partners there. And just her attitude about MMA is different than any other boxer I've seen, honestly. A lot of boxers come in. Ava Knight's probably the only other one out there that's an accomplished boxer that saw MMA for what it was and how much different it was than boxing, and realized that if I want to be good at this, I've got to be willing to put myself out there in uncomfortable positions and uncomfortable places to learn all the stuff I need to learn to be effective. And she is very realistic about where she's at, how far she's got to go, how far she's come already, and her opportunities in MMA. And I really respect her approach. Out of all the interviews we did on Sunday, that was the one that impressed me the most.
I love it, and I look forward to her sophomore debut there in terms of MMA. The first one was tough at times, but she pulled through. All right, another question I wanted to ask you was calm versus intense. You're at the fighter hotel for a few days. You see these fighters, maybe in the elevator rides, maybe at breakfast. What have you always felt like is the more dangerous guy? Everybody thinks that intense guy or gal is the scary one, but is it the calm one that sometimes maybe has it even more together and is more dangerous?
I think it's the calm one. I think the one that's extremely focused and calm, knows exactly where they're at, doesn't kind of need to generate that kind of internal animosity to go out and do their job. Those are the ones that are scary. Those are the ones that oh boy, what does this person know that I don't know? But and then, I think that demeanor it's all energy. So if you've got to kind of ramp it up and kind of generate, and a lot of times I think that that animosity a lot of it's generated. It's not real. There's no real animosity between a lot of these fighters, but some guys are just wired that way. They've got to generate that animosity to be able to go out and punch somebody in the face and do what they do our job. And the calm ones, they're the ones you got to, they're the ones you want to watch for sure.
That's why I'm staying over here in my corner, not saying much. I'm trying to intimidate you guys. But I wanted to ask you, when we started at the beginning of the season, we expected to see other names here at the top, some dominant names that have been going through the PFL, and they're not here. What do you think it was, Randy? I know every case is different, but there's a lot of things we can point to. The level of competition. I think it was Marvin Hagler that used to say it's hard to get up for a run, right? When you're sleeping in silk pajamas. So many different things. But what do you think it was that these guys aren't here right now?
If I had to boil it down to anything, I'm going to boil it down to this organization, the Professional Fighters League. They are not protecting anybody, and they spent a lot of money on those names, and then threw them right into the fire. Did not give them a break. No walkovers, no easy matchups. They put them right into the fire right from the jump, and not that those guys would have expected anything different. I don't think they wanted to be treated any different. It's just, I think, a tribute to this organization, the meritocracy that they've developed. It's about going out and scoring points, winning fights. It's not about publicity stunts or talking smack. It's about what you do in the cage, and those guys matched up against guys that style-wise just caused problems for them, or as fights unfold, luck is involved, and they had some unlucky situations. The deal with Verdum. I mean, here's arguably one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division in our sport, and he didn't make it out of his first fight. You couldn't have ridden that, honestly. I would have bet a lot of money on that, and he's not here. Anthony Pettis, another one. One of the most dynamic, technical, tactical fighters that we've seen in a long time in MMA. Pulled off some stuff that is literally movie-worthy, and he didn't make it through his first fight with Collard. I mean, pretty amazing. And the list goes on. Rory McDonald. I mean, another guy that I think everybody expected to see in the end here in the finals, and just didn't get it done. And fought well, commendably competed throughout this season. And I really enjoyed watching him fight and the things that he did, and he had some great moments. But at the end of the day, just didn't score enough points to get to the final. And I think a lot of folks expected to see those three names, especially in this finale.
Randy, in regards to Clarissa Shields and her progression, what can we expect from her? I mean, it's only her second fight, but we're used to greatness. She's accomplished greatness in boxing. What is fair as far as progression with her?
I think she showed amazing composure against Brittany Elkin, got into some of the worst situations you can get in, certainly as a boxer in her first MMA outing. This gal that she's matched up with this time is a little more on the striking side of the technical aspect of fighting. So we may see a little more of a stand-up and see her opportunity to show off a little of her boxing skills. And if I'm that gal, I'm going to try and find a way to take her out of that realm for sure. Put her on the ground, make her fight from her back, make her fight on the ground, and see how much technical MMA she's learned. She did some great things. She's got some tremendous power and ground and pound. We saw that against Britain. She stayed composed. She says she's been doing a lot of wrestling now. They've been putting her with a lot of grappling people. She's been in a lot of rounds and getting a lot of time in some bad positions and some bad situations to be able to survive and keep a fight where she wants to keep it. I think every time we see her out there, and we saw this with Kayla Harrison too, every time she stepped out into that cage, we saw her refine technique, her attitude, everything a little bit better. And she just seems to get better each and every time she goes out there. So I'm anxious to see her again in her second MMA fight and what she has learned. And she just has a great attitude about it. She's realistic about where she's at, where she needs to go, and she's willing to do the work. That's a pretty tough combination to beat.
Last one from me, Randy. A guy by the name of Glover Teixeira is going to be fighting for a title at age 43. And it pains me to say that way because I just turned 43. But the rumor is you did something like this back in the day, a little bit older, but you did do it. Any piece of advice you got for the old man, Glover Teixeira?
Well, I think Glover's a great fighter. I've enjoyed watching him over the years. He's got amazing power. I'm sure that has not gone away. I'm not sure who he's matched up with, but yeah, I think that's one of these things about MMA. It's a sport of experience. We get better as we get older, as we put more fights under our belt, more walks out of that tunnel and up into that cage, and putting it on the line, and certainly have a more rational, I think, realistic view of the mistakes we make and how to improve those and not make those mistakes again as we get older. And I'm sure Glover's going to do great. It'll be awesome.
Randy, talking about the main event, we'll finish with this. Taylor Guardado has to have a little chip on her shoulder. She's been cool as a cucumber when we've seen her at the gym. She's always smiling, getting ready. But, all this talk about Kayla and what's next for her, it's almost like she's being overlooked. What do you think? Do you think Guardado has that chip on the shoulder? How has she handled this week in terms of, through your lenses?
I think she's taking it all in stride. I think she sees Kayla, again, very realistically. She knows this whole season has been a huge step up in competition for her, coming off of 4 years off, starting a family, really not having a lot of professional experience going into this season of the PFL. And she's embraced it. She's grinded it out. She's been smart tactically. She's listened to her coaches. She's followed the game plan to the letter. I know they've worked very diligently on a game plan for Kayla Harrison. And you're dealing with Kayla Harrison at a point in her career where she's literally firing on all cylinders. She looks, I don't see any chinks in her armor. Nobody's really gone out and pasted her a good one right in the mouth. Yeah. And honestly, that can look at how Brock Lesnar responded to that. There's a lot of guys that never really made friends, and gals that never really made friends with the fact that somebody's going to be good enough and fast enough to go out and punch you right in the mouth. And that's some adversity you're going to have to overcome, both psychologically and physically. And, I don't think anybody's really done that with Kayla yet. Is Taylor Guardado the one that's going to go out and get that done? I would have thought of Jenna Fabian or one of these other gals that came from a more purely striking background would have managed to get that done. But standing in front of someone with 2 gold medals in judo, causes a little sphincter factor. You pucker up, you're like, man, I can't let my hands go. This gal's going to get a hold of me, and I'm going to have a rough night. I don't think Taylor's worried about that. I think she's got really good, solid wrestling skills. I know she's been very diligent in the gym in putting the work in, trying to find a way to solve the Rubik's Cube that is Kayla Harrison, because she's a formidable opponent for anybody in this sport right now. I think being in the underdog spot is relaxing, and I see that in her. She is relaxed. She is smiling. She's enjoying this journey, and she's got no pressure on her. Nobody expects her to win this fight, and she's going to just go out and let it hang out. Let it be what it's going to be. Either way, it's going to be an amazing learning experience and a huge step up for her. And I just feel like she has it all in the right perspective to go out and have a blast competing and see what happens.
As far as Harrison's concerned, do you think this free agency thing is in any form a distraction for her? How have you observed her?
I don't see her being distracted at all. I think she knows exactly what she wants. I think the new moniker of motherhood and stepping up and adopting those 2 children this year has given her a whole new purpose. It's given her something bigger than herself. It's always just been Kayla. I want to do this. Now she feels like she's fighting for those children, for putting food on their table and keeping things going with that new part of her life. And I think that's got her very focused. I don't think she's got any distractions. I don't think she's worried about the future. She knows she's going to be fine in the future regardless, and she sees a problem that's staring her in the face right now, and that problem is Taylor Godot.
We look forward to your call tomorrow night on ESPN Plus and then ESPN2, 10 fights in total, 6 title fights, and the return of Clarissa Shields included. Thank you as always, Randy, for the time.